Hey friends, this is a roaming prepper. So let's talk about how to make coffee and tea when the power's not on. Now it's easy enough if you have a bunch of these little Keurig cups to go and stick them in a machine and make yourself some coffee. But when the power goes out, you can't just do that. Let's talk about that. Hey gang, thanks for coming back, and don't forget to like and subscribe at the end of the video. Let me fix this here. Now this is kind of an ad hoc video I'm doing. Needed a cup of coffee, had a late afternoon conference call, falling asleep. Then it occurred to me, 3 is 2, 2 is 1, 1 is none. That's kind of a standing belief among preppers and pretty much among anybody who spends any time outdoors, engineers, architects, etc. Have some redundancy. So when you're dealing with making coffee when the power's out, well, how do you do that? Well, most of us nowadays have gotten spoiled, right? You can hear my Keurig in the background. We have these little K-cups, right? Well, a K-cup is great when you have power. You put it in the machine, you push the button you want, and coffee comes out. But the truth of the matter is, when there's no power, how do you make coffee? So first things first, I'm going to take this used Keurig, and I'm going to find out real quick how many tablespoons of coffee are in a Keurig. And I got about 2.5. So in reality, in a Keurig cup, you have 2.5 ounces of ground coffee. Now that's good to know, because typically, if you read any kind of coffee bag, they'll say use so many teaspoons in the old style drip coffee makers. So if you have tablespoons of coffee, you can probably open one of these and use it in a drip coffee maker. Now that still doesn't solve your problem because you don't have power, right? But anyway, just so you guys can see, there's quite a bit of coffee on there. So how else can you cook coffee when the power's out? Well, let's go with the oldest method, the method my dad taught me. This is the way he made it for years. A coffee pot. Now, a lot of you probably have seen this in the camping section, and if you've never gone camping, you're probably wondering, well, how the hell do you make coffee in there? Actually, pretty simple. Inside the coffee pot is this contraption. This is actually the coffee holder, or carafe, if you will. And as you can see, it has like a little mesh there. It's basically its own filter. So what you would do is open up your Keurig, or whatever, if you have regular coffee in a bag, that's great. Stuff it in here. Then you put the lid on. Now, if you look at the bottom of this, you notice it has holes, right? So those holes allow water to boil and percolate up the middle tube into the coffee and then back down. So what you wind up doing, you fill, if you look inside this container, you see where those holes end, which is where the spout is. It's about 1/3 of the way up the bottom. So you fill your container basically to the beginning of the spout. You put your coffee in your little cup, put the cup on the rod, and put this guy in the pot, and then you put it on fire. Basically, you could do it on an open flame. You could do it on a barbecue grill if you need to. You can do it on a propane or butane stove. You could probably even use a sterno. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice again. A sterno, the things you see at the buffets, those little heat elements, if you didn't know what they were called, under the coffee pot. Of course, this is old and the lid's falling off. But anyway, so you can actually take this, put it in here, so it's the bottom, this little bottom part is covered in water. As the water boils, right, it's going to percolate through. The water is going to go up this hollow tube. It is hollow, as you can tell, right? Going to go up it's going to come up and over, and then the hot water is going to soak back down through the coffee grounds. It takes about 5 minutes, and eventually you're going to see, if you open it every so often, you're going to see the coffee starting to turn dark. The water will turn dark as the coffee is made. Now, there is a type of pot that I like that has a little glass viewing hole. It's like a little glass knob, and you can actually watch the color of the coffee, so you can keep brewing it and boiling it until you get the darkness of coffee you prefer. Now, keep in mind, you don't want to put a very high heat to it. Medium heat. If you have to do it by hand, like over a sterno, make sure you rotate it a bit, get it some movement. If not, just put it on your propane or butane stove, and there you go. You could even use it on your propane barbecue pit if you have one. You just put it on the grill and lower the grill to the lowest setting. Don't forget, this is metal, so this will get hot, so you may need a glove or a rag. One way to make coffee. So, no power, one way to make coffee. Well, here's another way. And this actually makes good coffee even when you have power. It's a French press. Now, if you have not seen one of these before, this is glass. You open, and you see it has this mesh plunger looking thing, right? So what you do, you actually you boil the water separately. You then pour it in here with the coffee grounds directly in. Put the coffee, put the boiling water, let it sit, and you pull the plunger up. And you could swish it around, but you just basically let it sit. Do not put open flame under a French press. Most of them, there are some that will handle it. This will not. It'll crack and break. And you let the hot water do hot water things to the coffee. Give it about 5-10 minutes. Then you slowly press down. What it does, it pushes the coffee grounds to the bottom. And above, you get left with coffee, hopefully without too many grounds in it. If you get a few grounds, it builds character, so don't worry about it. So that's 2 ways to make coffee. Now, there's a third way, and this is a little bit more of a fancy contraption. This is called, an ignite. Now, how does this work? Well, this is basically a French press upside down for the Keurig. So, it's called an ignite. I got this as a gift. Actually, it was a vendor at my wife's old company, was a friend of the staff there, and she left a few of these for the office staff, which was pretty cool of her. So in any case, what you do, you take your little Keurig, see it has this little hole here? You put the Keurig in there. Now, then it has this other part, the plunger. So you see you have your Keurig. This is obviously a used Keurig. You put your coffee cup underneath. Then you take this thing, and I just freaked them all out with that noise. But anyway, you see what I did. So you take the plunger, there's your Keurig, put the plunger over it. Don't put boiling water in this. Now, this is important. Of all the methods I've showed you, if you put boiling water in this plastic, you'll actually screw it up. You could boil the water, and once it just starts to boil, turn it off and wait a few minutes. You want hot but not boiling water, about 190 degrees to 200 degrees. Remember, boiling's at 212 Fahrenheit, 100 Celsius for you guys overseas. Now, you have your water in here, right? It has 6, 8, and 10 ounces. Take your plunger. And so basically, it's the same thing as a coffee press, just upside down. You push down on this, the water will go through the little Keurig cup, and the coffee dispenses at the bottom. See, it even has the little poker and the dispensing port underneath. So this thing is called an ignite. Watch, the dogs are gonna freak out. No, they didn't freak out. All right, I was hoping to get some more barks there. 3 ways to make coffee. Now there's one last way. Oh, and this is an old school way. And actually I had a friend, last time I was in Europe on business, I had a friend who was Croatian. And by the way, I love the folks from Croatia. Like if I get run out of the US, I'm either going to Argentina or I'm going to Croatia because they're just badass. But anyway, a quick coffee. You take your coffee grounds, put it in here, right? put water in there, and you boil the cup directly, and you shake it. Then you basically use a spoon and try and get the grounds out from the bottom. Let it rest a bit. Get the spoon, try to spoon out the grounds, and basically drink the coffee with the grounds. Now, I will tell you one thing. That coffee will come out looking like motor oil. And if you drink it at 4 in the afternoon, you will not sleep till 3 in the morning. I know this from experience. So, warning, that's super strong coffee. But there's your fourth way to make coffee. So, remember, these kind of techniques also apply for making tea, making soups. I mean, you can use this methodology for different things. So remember, you have coffee pot, classic coffee pot with a little filter inside, French press, the fancy Ignite Keurig dispenser, or old school boil the coffee in there. Now, another trick, if you have one of these, this is what you use to, you put spices in here, and then when you make things like broth, you kind of dip that in the pot. You can actually put your coffee in here, dip that in there, boil the water with the coffee in there. Basically, it's almost like a tea. You actually could use these for tea as well, but you put the coffee instead of tea, put it in your hot water. So again, 4 ways, not including normal electrical, to make coffee if you need. Nothing starts a conversation like a good cup of coffee. If you're in an SHTF and you're dealing with people you may not know or talking to your neighbors, great way to have an introduction is to walk over with a pot of coffee and say, hey, you got a couple of cups? Let's talk and let's see how we can help each other in this situation. So guys, that's it for today. A bunch of different ways to make coffee and tea. I hope it helped you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And in the meantime, Godspeed if you're on the road. God bless to all our troops overseas, because there's never a dull moment for them. And to everyone else, take care, be safe, and I will see you next time.